Algebra 1 students, welcome to your 6.2 notes on solving systems with substitution. The substitution method is an effective and straightforward way to solve systems of equations. It consists of 3 simple steps. Solve one equation for one of the variables, plug that value into the other equation, solve for the other variable. Here's a basic example. We have y is equal to 4 and 2x plus y equals 12. So what we need to do is take this value for y and plug it in right there for y. So number 1 says solve the system using substitution, and x is already given to me as x equals 5. I'm going to take this value for x and plug it in right there. So y is equal to 3 times 5 minus 7. So y is equal to 15 minus 7, which is 8. And then I'm going to plug in that value for y to figure out what x is equal to, and I need to solve for x. Okay, so I would subtract 7 from both sides. I would add 7 to both sides. Sorry about that. So 15 is equal to 3x. Divide both sides by 3. And I have x is equal to 5. And I have an ordered pair of 5, 8. Okay, so in number 2, I've got y is equal to 3x. I'm going to take that value and plug it into this equation right here for y. So I've got 2x minus 3 times y, which is equal to 3x, and that's equal to 28. Alright, so I have to distribute this 3 to this 3x, so I've got 2x minus 9x equals 28. If I combine like terms, I have a negative 7x is equal to 28, and x is equal to negative 4. Alright? So, I'm going to take that negative 4 and plug it in to figure out what y is equal to. So I've got 3 times negative 4 is equal to y, and so y is equal to negative 12 when x is equal to negative 4. And so that is an ordered pair, and that ordered pair is how I write my answer. It's also a point. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do in number 3. I've got y solved for. All of this stuff here is equal to y. I'm going to plug it into the equation right there for y. So I've got negative 5 x plus 3 4/3 x minus 6. Alright, and that is equal to 6. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to distribute this 3 to everything inside of the parentheses. So I've got negative 5x plus, my 3's cancel out, I end up with a 12. Nope, I don't end up with a 12x. What am I doing? My 3's canceled out. I end up with a 4x. And then a negative 18 is equal to 6. Okay? So, I'm going to combine like terms. So I have a negative x is equal to negative x minus 18 is equal to 6. I can add 18 to both sides. Alright, and I end up with a negative x is equal to 24. Okay, which means that x is equal to negative 24 in that case. Alright, so now I know that x is equal to negative 24. I need to plug that back into the other equation to figure out what y is equal to. So I've got y is equal to 4/3 x, which I now know to be negative 24. So I plug that in, or I substitute that back in for x. And negative 24 divided by 3 is 8. It's negative 8, so negative 8 times 4 is a negative 32. So I've got negative 32 minus 6, so y is equal to a negative 38. And I would write my answer as an ordered pair. Okay, what I want you to do is pause the video, give number 4 a shot. I'm going to give you a hint. Try to solve for x in that equation and then use substitution. All right, as you can see, I solved the first, or the second equation there. First, I solved that for x, and I got x is equal to 2y minus 3. I plugged that in, or I substituted that in for y in the first equation. That's supposed to be an arrow. And then I did a whole bunch of simplification to get to y is equal to 4. Then I used substitution one more time to figure out what x is equal to when y is equal to 4, and I got 5. Comp 4, it's an ordered pair. It's my... Alright, so number 5, we have y is equal to 7x. Again, like we've done before, I'm going to take that 7x, plug it in for y right there, and so I have 7x minus, well, 7x is equal to 18. And we have a problem. I've got 0 is equal to 18. And folks, that can't happen. I have a no solution. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and pause your video. Try number 6 on your own. You can do it. Okay, for those of you who paused your video and actually gave this a shot, I would bet that you got to this point here where it said -6 equals -6, and you didn't know what to do, so you probably turned it back on and saw that it is an infinite solutions situation. Okay, so that's what's going on. If you ever end up with something that is equivalent, that works every time. That's an infinite solutions, and if you end up with something that is not an equivalent, like number 5 where it says 0 is equal to 18, well, you know, 0 is not ever equal to 18. So that's the difference between those two special cases. All right, folks, I had to do some editing to our video to get it under the time limit. So there is how I did number 7 and number 8. If you have questions on those, come to class and ask them. All right, you have a group of friends. There's 15 of you, and you decide to attend a sporting game, Casey sporting game. Tickets to sit in the members club cost $30, and South Stand tickets cost $35. There weren't enough tickets in either section for the group to sit together, so they split up. It cost a total of $480 for the tickets. How many sat in each section? So this is going to ask you to define your variables. I'm going to define my variables as the x is going to be the people that sit in the members club. We're going to call those people MC. Okay, that's where they're sitting. They're sitting in the members club. And the Y is the people that are sitting in the South Stands, which I'm going to call SS. All right, so I'm going to help you guys set up your system, and then I expect you to be capable of doing your calculation. All right, so when we set this up, I've got one situation happening where I know how much money my tickets cost total, and I know how much money each section cost. I also have another situation where I know how many people came to the event. So I've got a system of equations set up like this. X plus y, well, that's going to be my amount of people that are showing up. So that's going to be 15. So x plus y is equal to 15. I also know that my tickets to the members club are $30 a piece. So I've got 30 times the amount of people going to the members club, so 30x, and I've got 35 times the amount of people that are going to the South Stands, which is y. And I also know that we paid a total of $480. All right, folks, you can tell that I have done the substitution, figured out what my x and my y values are going to be. You're capable of doing that calculation, but I wanted to come back and talk to you a little bit about what that means. We have 9 people sitting in the members club. And we have 6 people sitting in the south stands. Okay, so we would need to say some sort of sentence about that. And then that is how you would answer number 9. All right, and for number 10, it says the measure of one acute angle in a right triangle is 36 degrees, more than twice as big as the measure of the other acute angle. Define variables, write the system, and solve to find the measure of the 2 acute angles. Remember, or a reminder, that 3 angles in a triangle sum to 180 degrees. All right, there's some clues that they've given us in this problem that we need to pay attention to. It says an acute angle in a right triangle. A right triangle means that I'm going to have one angle that's 90 degrees. That is a All right, so I have defined my variables as my x variable being my smaller angle and my y variable being my larger angle. And that's about as good of a right angle as I can draw. This program doesn't have shapes for me, so maybe it does. Maybe I just don't know how to use them. So I have y in this case is equal to 36 degrees more than twice as big as the measure of the other acute angle. So that is larger than twice the size of the other angle. All right, so that's how big my y acute angle is. All right, and in our picture over here, y would be this one, x would be that one. All right, so the other clue that I know is since I have a right triangle, and since this is my 90 degrees, and since my total of the 2 triangles, or not my 2 triangles, but my 2 angles, along with the total of the right triangle, the 90 degrees, adds up to 180 degrees for all of the angles, I know that x and y added together are going to be equal to 90 degrees. So I can also say that x plus y is equal to 90. I probably didn't do a great job of explaining that. We could talk about it more later if you really have questions about that. But basically, a right triangle is going to have one angle that's 90 degrees. Since the angle of all 3, or since the total degree measure of all 3 angles equals 180, we know that x plus y equals 90. Now I have a system of equations that I can solve for. All right, so you can see my work here. Basically, what we needed to do is solve the system of equations. I used substitution. So what I did was I took this equation here and I rewrote it. I subtracted x from each side of it so that I have y is equal to 90 minus x. And then I substituted this value for y right here into this equation for y. And so I substituted that value for y right in there. So now I have an equation with just x's in it. There's no y's in it. I solved for x and got x is equal to 18. Plugged that value back into this equation for x. Solved for y, and then I figured out that y is equal to 72. And then I redrew a right triangle right up here. All right. And it's probably not to the correct scale in terms of the angles. I was on my way. Thanks to you, I'm much obliged.